Good afternoon and welcome to the Stump Show with a recap of play on day one of the fifth and final test of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy being played at the SCG before yet again a record crowd. India, for some reason, decided to bat first on a well-grassed wicket under overcast conditions. Losing 3 wickets in the first session meant that the uh, advantage of batting first, assuming there was such an advantage, was frittered away right at the start. There was a decent second session where India managed to consolidate for the loss of Virat Kohli, fending yet again outside the off stump and being caught in the cordon. But a collapse in the third session, almost exactly like in the final innings of the fourth test, meant that India ended the day on 185 all out. Very poor returns for batting first. On the plus side, in the 3 overs that were possible before close of play, Jasprit Bumrah got Usman Khawaja to nick off to first slip. Australia ended the day on 9 for 1. Um, to go back to the beginning, it is not just India's choice of uh, batting first that is questionable. The team composition looked completely out of kilter. India went in with just four regular batsmen. Rohit Sharma sat the match out. Jasprit Bumrah took back the captain's armband for the final test. India had, as I said, four regular batsmen, four all-rounders when you consider that the wicketkeeper is always considered an all-rounder, and three tail-end batsmen. Uh, it basically meant that in the interests of strengthening the bowling attack or the batting lineup, India has gone into this game with two spinners, one all-rounder in Nitish Reddy of dubious quality with the ball, and just three regular bowlers in Bumrah, Siraj, and Prasidh Krishna. It basically means that neither the batting nor the bowling is strong enough in a must-win test. So, what India's game plan going into this test was doubtful from the get-go. And then the doubts kind of increased when you looked at the way India went about its business. It seemed that from the very first ball, the batsmen were intent on survival. They left a lot, they blocked a lot. There was no proactive intent in, if not scoring runs through force, at the very least, rolling the strike over, taking singles. Uh, the partnerships were indicative of just how thoughtless India's approach was. The first wicket partnership consumed 30 deliveries and managed to put on 11 runs. The second, between Shubman Gill and Yashasvi Jaiswal, consumed 16 deliveries for 6 runs. The third, between Virat Kohli and Shubman Gill, lasted 106 deliveries for just 40 runs, out of which Virat Kohli managed 12 runs off 48 balls of dodged defense. The next partnership between Kohli and Rishabh Pant consumed 40 deliveries for 15 runs. Jadeja and Rishabh Pant got together for the best partnership of the innings in terms of runs, 48. But they also consumed 151 deliveries. Jadeja, in particular, batting for 72 deliveries for his 15 runs in that uh, association. Pant and Nitish Kumar Reddy fell off successive deliveries from Scott Boland, who was by a distance the pick of the bowlers today. And then came a small association between Jadeja and Washington Sundar for 14 runs, Sundar and Prasidh Krishna for another 14, Bumrah and Prasidh for 20, Bumrah and Mohammad Siraj for an entertaining 17 of 26. The point is, 48 runs and 151 deliveries was the best partnership of the Indian innings. The fact that India did not manage to put runs on the board meant that at the end of its first innings, its score has gone nowhere, really. 185 was just not enough in the first innings, particularly when you won the toss and you've decided to bat first. Uh, the Australian bowling was incisive. What is fascinating about the Australian bowling versus the Indian bowling is that all three of the seamers, lead seamers, take wickets. Um, Today, Cummins, though he bowled well in his first two spells, struck only for the last wicket. But Mitchell Stark got three. Scott Boland bowled a brilliant series of spells. His first spell got a wicket. His second spell got two wickets in uh, two balls. Uh, he was largely instrumental in keeping India down to the kind of score that is neither here nor there. Uh, in questions, Aslam Hunani asks again the same old story: lessons to be learned for future tours. Well, look, I keep going back to this. If you're going to pack your team with all rounders because you can't trust the batsman, then to manufacture an analogy, it's kind of like you have a problem with your heart and you're treating your lungs. Uh, that doesn't work. You want bowlers who can take wickets and batsmen who can get you runs, not batsmen who you think will not get you runs, and therefore you need bowlers who can bat. This has been India's biggest failing for a long, long time. This reluctance to trust its batsmen. I- India does have a point. The batsmen are not delivering. But then the thing to be addressed is the composition of the batting lineup itself, not the composition of your lower order. One of the things that you notice, Aslam, is today, if what was the game plan that India came out with? If it was survival, it made no sense whatsoever. India would have been better off bowling first and helping or giving Bumrah the opportunity to use good bowling conditions, particularly in the first session when on a well-grassed wicket you had a cloud cover and the ball was moving around all over the place. What kind of lessons can you learn? Pick the right team, uh, pick the right playing 11 for the conditions. I I don't know. It's throughout this series, we got away in Perth thanks to a brilliant opening spell by Bumrah. But other than that, India has never looked convincing in any of the test matches. That basically means we have systemic problems and they need to be addressed systematically. You can't have your coach come there and say, we are very, very confident. There's nothing wrong. We have all the skill sets that are necessary. You clearly don't. And you're signaling that you don't, particularly with the bat. So I don't know. Harish Kotian, right decision to bat? I didn't think so at the start of the innings, and I don't think so now. At the start of the innings, I didn't think so because, like I said, the conditions were good for bowling. Uh, you could have put Australia under pressure with early wickets. As it happened, it was India that came under pressure because of early wickets taken at a time when the ball was bouncing inordinately. The wicket was giving you spongy bounce at times, which made it very difficult to cope. The ball was swinging around both ways. Um, I don't know what we were thinking when we opted to bat, and that sense of mystification only became more pronounced when we saw the way we batted in the first session, particularly. It was like we just wanted to survive. Uh, Harish says, as you said, if India were playing for survival, then it would have been better off to bowl first. Absolutely. That's been my thought right from the morning session onwards. I'm not at all sure what uh, India thought it was doing. Prasanna says, Hi Prem, with Khwaja gone, would Australia be under some pressure? What should India's bowlers focus on tomorrow in the first session to set up the game in India's favor? Look, losing an early wicket always puts some pressure on the batting side. And I think Khwaja was rattled by that incident earlier in the over when Bumrah wrapped him on the fingers, jammed the fingers against the bat handle, really, which is invariably very painful. Uh, but yeah, uh, what can India focus on? The morning session is going to be probably the best for bowling, though I was looking at the weather report. Today was overcast. Tomorrow seems to be sunny and bright. So I don't know how long that will last. Favorable bowling conditions will last, but the ball is new. The bowlers are fresh. You need to keep the length up and target both the edges and the pad. Fail to take wickets in the opening hour, and India will be in for a grind because all said and done, the Aussie batsmen have come back into a good measure of form. All of them. Labuschagne has, yeah, he doesn't look pretty when he bats. He's not anywhere near the form that he had in his pomp, but he's making runs, and more to the point, he's sticking it out there. Smith has looked increasingly fluent, though in the last innings of the previous Test match he threw his wicket away, but otherwise he has looked good. Then you have Travis Head. He's had two failures under his belt and will want to come good. You have a new number six in Bo Webster, who's a more than decent all rounder. And Mitchell Marsh was a walking wicket really throughout the first four Test matches. So you've got a new guy coming in at Webster, and Carey has been in excellent form throughout. So I don't think we have enough runs on the board, and that brings up a problem that the Indians will have. If the Australian batsmen in the first hour start taking singles and also scoring the occasional boundary, there is a limit to how long you can keep attacking fields. Once you spread the field out, the singles become easier to get, the pressures off the batting side. So, yeah, you need a very, very sharp opening spell from all three of your seamers. Harish Kotian, what do you think about the Shubman Gill dismissal? It's unfortunate. Like you said, he again threw away a start. Yeah, he did. And that's been the unfortunate part of. Look, if you look at Shubman Gill's 2024 in totality, he averages somewhere around 42, I think. He's had 350s and three centuries. Um, that looks on paper like a good record, but what is happening increasingly, and particularly on away tours for Gill, is that he is just not able to convert his starts into proper big scores. And the way of getting out was unfortunate. He got into a bit of a verbal clash with the Australian close-in fielders. This was on the stroke of lunch. The Australians were pointing out that he was using up time, trying to make sure that it was the final over, which is fine. It's gamesmanship, and you expect that. But what was surprising was it was the very last ball of the over. Gill came charging down. Now, you can understand it if the field was well in. You could understand it if he was charging down to try and hit the ball. Instead, he charged down and blocked the ball with an open bat face, which took the edge. And I don't know, it was bizarre. Three times in the Test matches that he has played on this tour, he's gotten out hitting half volleys to the closest fielder. This time, it was probably even more bizarre the way he got out. So yeah, he does have a problem now. Aslam, there's only plus point from day one is Australia losing Khawaja. If things go well, can bowlers have a good day too? If bowlers manage to take wickets in the first hour, they can probably have a good day too. But like I just pointed out earlier, if runs start going, if Australia, for instance, puts on, let's say, 30, 35 runs for the second wicket, not much, just 35 runs for the second wicket, what the Indians will be looking at is a scoreboard that says they are just 150 ahead. What do you do with the ball? You can't bowl attacking lines, which means bowling on the stumps because those are the ones that are easier to hit. Secondly, you can't keep close in fielders for too long because you can't afford to bleed runs in the first innings. All told, that first hour, I mean, it's almost axiomatic that the first hour of a test match is crucial, but this time it is incredibly crucial for India because if they don't have a good first hour, this game could slip out of their hands. Prasanna says the way India batted in the first innings, it makes one feel that our players are feeling homesick and they want to finish off the fifth test quickly and come back home. Do you agree? Well, I don't know what's in the players' minds, but I wonder what the last 3 days of uncertainty had to do with it. If you remember, there was a story that the Indian Express broke. Uh, I read the story. I thought that it was a planted one. I'm not saying the journalists were at fault, but it's very easy to get seduced when somebody comes and whispers stuff in your ears. The reason I think it's a plant is because it tries to put a good face on Gautam Gambhir's stint as a coach and put all the onus on the players. Think of the statement he made. He says, "For all these test matches, I've been allowing the team to play things their way. Why are you a coach? 3 tests against New Zealand. Forget about the bilateral ODIs and Sri Lanka. 3 tests against New Zealand where India got hammered, and then 4 tests in Australia, in three of which India's performance was way below par. And you're saying after these 6 test matches, 7 test matches actually, but one we won. After 6 test matches, you're saying, "Oh, I was just waiting for the players to just play their own way." Um, so yeah, there was that, but there was also a lot of friction within the dressing room, which is inevitable when a team is not doing well. I don't know how much all of this has impacted the mindset of the players. If you saw Pant batting, for instance, he didn't seem to know what was required of him. He was just hanging out there. Uh, he was defending till almost the end of his innings. And Rishabh Pant doesn't play that game very well. He's not a purely defensive batsman. There were so many deliveries I saw, including a full toss, by the way, that he hit straight to forward short leg. I've never seen Rishabh Pant miss out on a full toss. That showed that his mind was all over the place. He didn't quite know whether he was supposed to play shots or to defend for dear life. Eh, That's no way for your number five, particularly a batsman of Pant's ability to bat. I don't know if they're in a hurry to get home. I think they were just a confused lot today. Sri Nair says, "Is Gavaskar stupid, stupid, stupid comment hindering Pant than helping him?" It seems to be playing on his mind. Yes, it does. And the funny part is, when Pant was batting today, I heard commentators constantly saying that, it was unfair to have blamed Pant for everything and that it was affecting his batting. Yeah, well, it's the same commentary team that blamed Pant not once, but twice in succession. When everybody bats badly, singling out one particular player can make him feel under the gun. And I don't know. I truly don't know how. I keep wondering whether the team management sits down with all the players, makes clear to them what the expectations are, how they are expected to play. If you're going to say play for the team, yeah, well, even when he's scoring runs, he's playing for the team. So what does that even mean? I don't know. Harish Kotian says time for Virat Kohli to return to domestic red ball cricket. The off-stump problem has carried on for too long. Do you see him playing in England next year? See, that's the thing. India doesn't pick pragmatically. I would almost certainly see him being picked for England, and the argument will be that he's too good a batsman to keep failing, that he has a good record in England. All of these uh, rationale will be trotted out. He will play. I don't think he will do too well. I'm not saying that on the basis of current form. I'm saying that on the basis of a read that he's no longer picking the line and length as early as he used to, which basically means that he is moving late and he's constantly playing down the wrong line. Uh, in England, the ball does swing around a lot. If you're not picking line early, if you're pushing down the wrong line, you're setting yourself up for failure. So yeah, he will play. I don't think he'll play too well. Aslam says, no doubt Kohli and Rohit may have 2 or more years in the game, but seems they've lost the concentration with so much pressure around. Time for them to take a break. I think Rohit is done. I don't think he will be back. Either he retires or he finds that he's not picked for the England tour. By the time the England tour comes around, he'll be 38. All he has to show for 2024 is failures. He doesn't have the opportunity to get back into form because uh, India is not playing Test cricket at home before the England tour. In fact, India is not playing any Test cricket until June. So I don't see him being picked. So it's either Rohit reads the tea leaves like Ashwin did and retires, or he is pushed. Kohli, does he have 2 more years? I don't know. Uh, I see signs of deterioration in his game. I don't know how long he can continue like this. See, the thing with us as fans or even the selectors is when you play one big innings, you go berserk. You say, "Oh, he's back. He's this. He's that. He's found his touch again." That's what happened in Perth. We didn't look at the conditions under which those runs were made. Uh, he came in against a ball that was, I think, 50 overs old with a huge platform of runs behind it. He did score a century. It was not the most convincing innings that he's played, but yeah, he got the runs. And we promptly celebrated and said, this is going to be bad news for Australia. Well, no, it hasn't been. And that keeps happening time and time again. Rajesh Alva asks if Bumrah can turn this test for us. Look, if we are going to depend on Bumrah to turn this test, I think we'll lose it. I think we need our second and third bowlers, particularly, to come good. That's been the difference actually between the Aussies and the Indian bowling lineup. The Indian bowling lineup has been completely about Bumrah, and particularly after the ball is about 40 overs old. I saw a statistic in between the third and I mean in between the fourth and fifth test match, which said that between the 40th and the 80th overs, the Australian bowlers take 17 to 18 wickets, whereas India takes about 9 wickets, uh, out of which seven are taken by Bumrah, which means that the other three bowlers we have tried, Nitish Rana has actually taken two and hasn't played since then. Uh, Akashdeep hasn't taken any wickets in that phase, and Siraj has taken just two. If that is going to be how we bowl in this test match, we will lose this for sure. We need bowlers number two and three to come to the party, particularly in the first innings, because I don't see signs of the pitch turning this early. There are some subsurface cracks showing beneath the grass. If there is bright sunlight for the next couple of days, yeah, you might see those cracks opening up, but that's not going to happen tomorrow anyway. So, yeah, it is down to the two backup pace bowlers to really come good this time if India is to have a chance. Aslam says, any comments on Nitish Reddy after flamboyant century? He's not scoring anything. He has promised, but it should result in action. Any comments? Look, it's one of the things about such an emotional high that there's no place for you to go mentally than down. Um, I think Nitish is facing the hangover of that big innings. Look at Sam Constance, for instance. He had the same problem after that innings that he played on debut in the first innings. Uh, Two things happen. One is bowlers are more ready for you after after they've seen you for a while, and the second thing is you walk out there knowing that you can't top what you've just done. Uh, on top of all of that, if you think of the Indian mindset in this innings and how much it might have played on Nitish's mind, the Indian mindset was just survival at all costs. That's not the kind of attitude or the mood that you want to come out to bat with. And I don't know. Uh, Hopefully, he'll turn it around. Utkarsh says, why are India scared to say that Rohit Sharma was dropped? VIP culture. Well, technically, Rohit Sharma couldn't have been dropped because the only person who can drop Rohit Sharma is Rohit Sharma himself. He's the captain, or was the captain until he dropped himself. But yeah, there is a lot of VIP culture going on. Rohit Sharma was rested. That's what Bumrah said at the toss. Rested for what? All he has to look forward to is a flight back home. He doesn't need rest for that. Uh, So yeah, I mean, we do. I don't know if the bad thing. I don't think that you need to start a test match saying, okay, this guy was out of form and he's out. But contrast that with what Pat Cummins said in the pre-match press conference when asked about Mitch Marsh. He very clearly said Marsh hasn't been getting runs, and so he's out of the side, and Bo Webster gets his debut. It's just an acknowledgement of a situation that exists. Marsh wasn't getting runs. Uh, I don't see why that should not be possible for us, but yeah, that's how it is. Um, a guy who identifies himself with a lot of special characters says Gautam Gambhir is a pathetic coach and needs to be thrown out ASAP. I don't know if he's pathetic or good. The thing is, I haven't seen signs of a coach's influence on this test team ever since he took charge. We went through a shambolic series at home against New Zealand, and there didn't seem to be any kind of rethink at any point in that series. We just kept doing the same things and getting out in the same ways. And what is more interesting is that we played on pitches that we designed. Uh, Word from people who I actually know and trust says that India asked for these kind of dramatic turners. Um, okay, you did it once and lost a test match. You did it again and lost another test match. You did it for a third time and lost that as well. Uh, then the Australia tour, and in pretty much every single test match, the team selection has been baffling. Uh, in retrospect, I think we were lucky to get away in Perth simply because of that once in a lifetime spell by Bumrah in the third session of the first day. But I don't know. I don't see what the coach is contributing, put it this way. There doesn't seem to be a definite game plan. There doesn't seem to be a visible strategy. So, yeah, right now he's warming that particular seat. Yogi Chiniga says Gambhir does not seem to have a clear plan or strategy based on today's decision and the endless defense today. Do you agree? Oh, absolutely. I mean, the team selection made no sense. Neither did the way India approached its innings, particularly when you consider that uh, India opted to bat first. That would be a decision that had been discussed in the dressing room before Bumrah came out for the toss, saying, "Okay, if we win the toss, what are we doing? We are batting first." Okay, what was the goal? What was the idea? What was the intent? What did you see in the pitch that made you think that batting first was a good idea? I don't know. It certainly there was no sign of a strategy in the way we approached that innings. Aslam says I always used to read about grumblings in the park dressing rooms after losses and finger pointing. Same is happening in Indian cricket. That's quite disturbing. Aslam, if you remember, uh, we've had the same kind of conversations emanating from the Indian dressing room before when we were losing fairly regularly. Uh, so yeah, losing teams, you get this kind of thing. Remember Australia last year, for instance? There was a lot of flack aimed at the skipper Pat Cummins. There was even more flack, some of it vicious flack aimed at the then coach Justin Langer. Uh, Teams that are going through stress somehow seems to bring out the worst in teams. I don't know why that is. That would be a time when you want to get together as a unit, but yeah, not happening. Utkarsh says, I think Gill earlier downplayed Stark's short ball strategy, but it worked very well today. Did the Indian batters underestimate it? Uh, Australia has had a consistent strategy and they've stuck to it. If you notice, in the early part of an innings, when the ball is new, they opt more to make the ball swing and seam. They target the outer edges a lot more. The length is a lot fuller, not full length, but it's just back of beyond looking for those edges. Just the occasional ball angling in towards the pad, targeting that form of dismissal. But once the ball gets to around the 30 over mark, I think you will find, and this has been consistent across the series, I think you will find that they pull the length back, they go short a lot more often, and They've had this strategy consistently over the last three test matches in this innings. Uh, Gill dismissing or downplaying Stark's short ball strategy. Well, the thing is, it's worked for Stark. It hasn't worked for the Indian batting. So, La Knight says, is it the end of Virat Kohli's career? I don't know. His returns don't justify his place right now, but I don't see the Indian selectors and the administration having the gumption to tell India's biggest cricket brand, and I mean brand from an advertising, marketing, and revenue point of view. I don't see them telling India's biggest brand that he's done and dusted. Aslam asks if it is maybe that the cricketers are given demigod status and when they fail, brickbats are bound to follow. Uh, well, yeah, that's one part of it. The more important thing is we pick teams and players based on reputation, not on form. And we keep saying this. There's this cricket cliche that I'm sick and tired of. They say that form is permanent. I mean, form is temporary, class is permanent. I don't know what class is permanent is supposed to mean. Permanent or otherwise, class does not put runs on the board. Form puts runs on the board. If you're not in form, you're not going to get runs. You suffer, the team suffers. We just don't seem to see that. Deepak Sharma asks if Washington Sundar was out, or is it another blunder of the third umpire? Look, there were enough replays there. What I think I saw was that the ball brushed the glove. Uh, Snicko didn't show a significant spike. It showed a spike, not a big spike, but you don't expect a big spike because the glove is a softer surface than the bat. Uh, Whenever the ball takes the glove, unless it thuds into the glove, you don't get to see a significant spike. This was the ball brushing the glove, uh, which makes it out technically. Um, I think this is one of those dismissals. You can't quarrel with the fact that he was given out. By the same token, if he had been given not out, also you wouldn't have quarreled too vociferously. Funnily enough, I thought the Steve Smith catch was good. I thought that he had got his finger under the ball. And I thought in a catch, what is always looked at is, does the fielder have the ball under control? Here, Smith got his fingers under the ball. The ball was rolling out of his fingers. He realized that and realized that he couldn't curl his fingers over the ball because he was landing on that hand at that point. And so he had the presence of mind and the ability to flick the ball, and he flicked it over second slip's head into the hands of third slip, which meant that he had the ball under control. I was kind of curious about how that was given not out. But again, I'm not quarreling with the decision. I'm saying these are the marginal decisions that can go either way. In one case, it went in favor of the batsman, and the other, the batsman got the shot into the stick. Hari Nair says there are murmurs that dropping Kohli is impossible because the brand's backing him. Is that a conspiracy theory or is there some truth to it? There is truth to the fact that Kohli is a big brand, and a lot of times what happens in Indian cricket is when you have an outsized brand, you need him in the side because he's the one that attracts your sponsors. And more importantly, the sponsors are, I mean, the sponsorship deals are fixed for a period of time. So in between, if Kohli goes, it's not like the sponsor will pull out. But advertising series to series gets affected if a big brand walks off. And Kohli is by a distance the biggest brand that we have in Indian cricket today. So it's not a conspiracy theory, it is a fact of cricket economics. Deepak Sharma says how India team is completely falling after Gambhir has been taken as coach. Is there some problem? As far as I can see, the problem seems to be that, particularly in a period of transition, you have a coach and selectors who are not quite clear in their minds about what kind of team composition they want and how they want to approach each particular series. The team composition was fairly iffy during the New Zealand tour, and it's been incredibly dodgy on this tour. Aslam Hanani says, on a personal note, everyone is dissecting the performance of senior players. What must be their mental status now? What must they be passing through? Aslam, I think from having interacted with senior players before, uh, when I was doing cricket full time and some of the biggest names in the game at that time, what I do know is that yeah, senior players are affected by some of the noise outside, particularly when big name commentators go after them. But I think what affects them even more is their own realization that they're not justifying their place, that they're not getting their runs or their wickets. That becomes an impossible burden, and every successive failure just keeps adding to that particular pressure. Uh, I know big name players from the past who've told me that not scoring in two successive innings means that you're approaching your third innings the evening before you know you have to go out there again. You're literally having nightmares about what can happen. It's a self perpetuating cycle. Once you get out, keep thinking of the way you've gotten out. You keep, your entire focus is, okay, I'm not going to do that. It's like, don't think of a pink elephant, which makes you immediately think of a pink elephant. Here it is like, don't push outside the off stump and you go and push. You stay patient for ball after ball, over after over, but sooner or later, and particularly because the game is not moving, you're not scoring runs. You're just letting them go or somehow defending. So you're stuck in place, and sooner or later, your patience gives away, or that one ball comes that compels you to play, and you fall into the same trap all over again. Sanjay Raj says Virat has not been performing for some time now. Should he not be judged by his past performance? Yes, of course he should be. Every player, for that matter, should be judged on performance, not necessarily the previous test, but at least a considerable body of work. And Virat, in this test so far, has played 8 innings, including this one. He scored 184 runs. Remember that 100 of those runs came in that one innings, the second innings in Perth, which basically means that in 7 innings on this tour, he's produced 84 runs. Washington Sundar has scored more, and that should tell you something. So, yeah, Sutano Ganguly says, do you think it's time we recall the likes of Ajinkya Rahane and Cheteshwar Pujara, who are still termed as stalwarts of Indian cricket? They may be stalwarts of Indian cricket, but they haven't played red ball cricket in a long, long time. And I don't see what the advantage is of bringing back players who have actually retired from the game. By that token, where do you stop? You might as well bring back Mahendra Singh Dhoni also. Uh, no, I don't think bringing back Rahane and Pujara right now is makes any sense. Pujara would be incredibly handy in England, where he's played county cricket even last year. I think he's played. Yeah, he has played county last year, but it depends on whether he is in form and whether he is playing red ball cricket at the point where you're selecting him. Rahane, I don't think has played red ball in a long time. I don't see. I don't see the point. And that is not to discount the quality of Rahane, just that time has passed. Hari says, what are the chances of this pitch aiding spinners later on? There are a couple of factors that can determine this. One is how much the sun will beat down on the pitch over the next couple of days. The weather forecast says it's going to be sunny and bright. Uh, what you did notice when the camera panned over the pitch is that just underneath the grass, you can see long lines running the length of the pitch, striations on the pitch, which typically in these kind of conditions tend to open up as the game progresses. By day 4, you should see signs of cracking. By day 5, those should be more pronounced. And by then, the grass would also have settled down. It would have become browner. It will offer a lot more grip. Spinners could come in handy, but the two caveats are: one, will we have the runs to bring our spinners into the game in the fourth innings? And two, I saw somewhere in the weather forecast that there is a projection of a little bit of rain on days 4 and 5, and I don't know how that is going to affect the pitch. It could well settle things down also. Utkarsh Mishra says, given the scoreline at lunch, did you expect India to put up a bigger fight? I expected India to bat sensibly in the first session, period. That wasn't sensible batting at all. Uh, all the three batsmen who got out, nobody can actually say that they got out to an unplayable delivery. And that, when you won the toss, opted to bat, that's that's suicide. Harish says we struggle to move on from Sachin, and now we are struggling to move on from Kohli and Rohit. Why transition so tough for Indian cricket? Goes back to what we've been talking about earlier today, Harish. We value our stars. We value them for themselves, not necessarily for what they bring to the table in terms of actual performance. If by a happy coincidence, the brand value and the performance are both good, we are lucky. Um, when, as in the present condition, the brand value outweighs the actual returns, we struggle. Hari says, I think Gambhir is more of his own man, and with this team, he has to kowtow to a lot of seniors. He might do a lot better with a younger team, as evident in his T20 record. A couple of things, Hari. One is, I personally don't think that you can rate a player or captain or a coach in the red ball game based on the performance in the shortest form of the game. I think that's a fallacy always. Um, Secondly, I don't think it is about kowtowing to the seniors. Look, what a team requires from a coach is clarity. Uh, you want the coach, in association, obviously, with the captain and with the senior players, to be crystal clear about the overall strategy of the team, and within that, what each player is expected to do, to what you're looking at each player contributing. Um, Here, I think that lack of clarity is hurting this team, and it's got nothing to do with seniors and juniors. Both seniors and juniors are playing as though they are in a mental fog. Harish Kodian says Greg Chappell was slammed when he did the same thing with Ganguly by asking him to step aside, a similar scenario to Rohit pulling out. Though, to be fair, Ganguly's dip in form, while noticeable, wasn't quite as bad as uh, Rohit Sharma's has been over the last year. It's. I think I remember seeing a statistic somewhere that his yield in terms of runs over the last year is the second lowest in history. Um, and as far as being asked to pull out is concerned, I don't think Saurav Ganguly and Rohit Sharma, in terms of fan following, are on the same page. Ganguly's fan following was far more fanatic and far more vocal than Rohit's is. Hari Nair says, is it just me or does Prasid Krishna not seem like a bowler of international quality from any angle? It's a tough one simply because Prasid bowling at his best is a hit the deck bowler. He can make the ball bounce. He's got the conditions in his favor, at least in the first innings over here. But one thing I've noticed about Prasid when he does bowl is that, and I'm not talking red ball because he haven't played red ball in quite a while, but even in the ODIs, for instance, he's very sharp for an over or three, and then he tails away in terms of quality. Uh, I don't know how he'll go over here, particularly because, I mean, outside of the nets, he hasn't played at all. He hasn't been seen as a likely pick. In fact, two players have been given debuts ahead of him. So I don't know what that does to his confidence. Uh, the good bit is that Bumrah is a good bowling coach. So hopefully, yeah, he'll talk Prasid through his first spell, which will be incredibly crucial. If he has a good first spell, we could get lucky on this. Um, Again, Mr. Special Character says, what is the way forward from here for the Indian Test team? I think it needs a total rethink. You have to consider that this is a transitional period. What that means is that there will be a preponderance of younger players in the side, and that the older ones are no longer pulling their weight. Um, you need to assess the team from top to bottom. You have Jaiswal. I don't see, despite his failures after that century, I don't see him. I don't see a rethink in the immediate future. Uh, Shubman Gill is a problem area. Uh, if it's a technical failure, you can put your finger on it. Here, it just seems to be a failure of concentration, of aptitude, um, and damned if I know there is a. I know of what a solution to that is. He's got to need to value his wicket more. But I think more than anything else, we need to go back to a structure where we have five batsmen, at least three of whom will deliver in every single game, followed by the wicketkeeper, followed by your bowlers. You cannot have this situation where you have four specialist batsmen, four all rounders who, if they don't deliver with the ball, we say, oh, they are all rounders who are picked for their batting. If they don't deliver with the bat, we say, oh, yeah, they are all rounders picked for their bowling. In other words, they are a lot of the time they are neither fish nor fowl, and that doesn't help. That doesn't help the team, and it's not just the personnel. I think it is that strategy, that attitude that we will pack the lower half because we can't trust the upper half. If you can't trust the upper half, then replace the upper half with batters you can trust. The solution is not to tinker with the lower half. So, yeah, I would think that. Having said all that, I don't see any of this happening though. Indian cricket will go on the way it always goes on. Sometimes we get lucky and a bunch of players come together who deliver with both bat and ball, and then we win games. And then we go through a transitional phase where everything collapses until the next batch of quality players come our way. So, yeah. Anyway, way forward for the Indian team is a long way away. Right now, it's, yeah, day one. The one wicket that Bumrah managed to, who else? That Bumrah managed to take at the fag end of the innings means that the day wasn't an entire disaster for India. But on balance, yeah, getting bowled out for 185, it's going to be hard to come back from here. Absent a fantastic collective bowling effort, particularly in the first session tomorrow. And with that, I think we'll end this, and I'll see you same place, same time tomorrow with the recap of day two. Take care, all. And by the way, Happy New Year.